The broadcast of terror. The morning started like any other across Earth. Coffee brewing in Seattle, trains rushing through Tokyo's underground, children playing in Cairo's ancient streets. Nobody noticed the subtle distortion in the upper atmosphere until the first ship materialized above Berlin at exactly 9:00 a.m. GMT. The vessel was unlike anything humanity had imagined. It stretched 3 kilometers across, its hull a shifting mass of crystalline structures that seemed to bend light around them. The surface pulsed with an inner crimson glow, like a heartbeat made of fire. Within seconds, identical ships appeared above London, Moscow, Beijing, New York, Mumbai, São Paulo, and 13 other major cities. Colonel Maria Rodriguez stood in the North American Aerospace Defense Command Center, watching as every screen lit up with emergency alerts. Her 20 years of military service had prepared her for many scenarios, but not this. The ships hung motionless, defying every law of physics she understood. No exhaust, no visible propulsion, just massive structures floating like mountains in the sky. The first communication came 30 minutes later. Every electronic device on Earth suddenly displayed the same image. A being appeared on screen, humanoid but wrong in every way that mattered. Its skin was translucent, revealing a network of glowing red veins beneath. 3 eyes arranged in a triangle stared out from a face that had no nose, only slits that pulsed when it spoke. Species designation: human. Your world has been selected for integration into the Korvax Empire. We are the harbingers of order in this chaotic galaxy. 217 civilizations watched this broadcast across the sector. You will serve as an example. President James Harrison sat in the White House Situation Room, surrounded by advisors who had no advice to give. The being on screen continued its speech, its voice a harmonious discord that made everyone's teeth ache. You have 1 hour to surrender unconditionally. Dismantle your governments. Destroy your weapons. Submit to Korvax authority. Compliance brings servitude. Resistance brings death. The galaxy watches your choice. The transmission ended. Chaos erupted in every capital. Emergency sessions convened. Military forces mobilized. Scientists scrambled to understand the technology hovering above their cities. The hour passed in a blur of desperate activity and growing dread. At exactly 10:30 a.m. GMT, the ships began to glow brighter. In Berlin, photographer Hans Müller was live-streaming the ship when the first beam struck. A column of red energy no wider than a city bus touched down in Alexanderplatz. Everything within a 100-meter radius simply evaporated. Not burned, not destroyed, but converted to its component atoms and scattered to the wind. The beam moved slowly, deliberately, carving through the city like a child drawing with a marker. Buildings collapsed. Streets melted. People ran, but there was nowhere to go. The ship's cameras broadcast everything to the galaxy, showing the panic, the fear, the utter helplessness of humanity's greatest cities under assault. Dr. Kenji Yamamoto watched from his laboratory in Kyoto, one of the few major cities spared from the initial attack. His team of quantum physicists had been analyzing the energy signatures since the ships arrived. What he discovered made his blood run cold and then hot with possibility. The Korvax weapons operated on a principle similar to controlled quantum decoherence, but there was a pattern, a frequency they couldn't hide. In Moscow, General Alexei Volkov ordered his forces to engage. Fighter jets scrambled, missiles launched, every anti-aircraft battery in the region opened fire. The projectiles hit an energy barrier surrounding the ship and simply ceased to exist. The Korvax response was swift. Secondary beams swept out, erasing entire military installations in seconds. The message was clear. Resistance was not just futile, it was punished. The systematic slaughter continued for 6 hours. The Korvax were methodical, focusing on population centers while leaving infrastructure partially intact. They wanted survivors to spread fear. They wanted the rest of Earth to watch their power. Every major news network carried the feeds, unable to look away from the horror unfolding across 20 cities. Captain Lisa Chen of the United States Space Force watched from a classified orbital station. Her small crew monitored the Korvax ships with every sensor they had. She noticed something the aliens probably didn't expect humans to spot. The ships had to lower their shields briefly when firing their main weapons. It was a window of vulnerability lasting exactly 0.7 seconds. By sunset GMT, the death toll reached 20 million. The Korvax ship ceased firing simultaneously. The same alien face appeared on every screen again, its 3 eyes now glowing with satisfaction. The demonstration is complete. Earth has 7 rotations to consider complete surrender. Your dead are witnesses to our power. The galaxy has seen what defiance brings. In 7 days we return for your answer. Choose wisdom or choose extinction. The ships vanished as suddenly as they had appeared, leaving only devastation and a species united by grief and rage. In an underground bunker beneath Mount Weather, President Harrison convened an emergency meeting of surviving world leaders via encrypted channels. The Russian president, the Chinese premier, the European Union representatives, all appeared on screens around the conference table. For the first time in human history, there were no arguments, no political posturing, just grim determination. They made one mistake, Harrison said quietly. They let us live. They gave us time. General Rodriguez, recently promoted to coordinate the global response, stood before a tactical display. Every military on Earth is at your disposal. Every scientist, every engineer, every resource. We have 7 days. Dr. Yamamoto's team had already shared their findings with physicist groups worldwide. The Korvax technology was advanced but not incomprehensible. Their shields, their weapons, even their faster-than-light travel, all operated on variations of quantum manipulation. Humanity had been working on similar theories for decades. They just needed to weaponize them. The formation of Operation Midnight Sun began that night. Every underground facility, every secret laboratory, every military black site on Earth became part of a singular effort. Old enemies worked side by side. Former rivals shared their most classified research. Humanity had found its common enemy, and with it its common purpose. Engineers in Germany repurposed the Large Hadron Collider into a weapon. Scientists in Japan developed quantum disruption warheads. American technicians modified every nuclear weapon in the arsenal, with new triggering mechanisms based on Yamamoto's discoveries. Russian factories worked around the clock producing specialized missiles. Chinese supercomputers ran millions of combat simulations. The world above mourned its dead. Mass funerals were held in the ruins of great cities. Families searched for loved ones who had been erased from existence. The media showed grieving faces and destroyed landmarks. But beneath the surface, in places the Korvax couldn't see, humanity prepared for war. Commander Singh of the Indian Space Research Organization made a crucial discovery on day 3. The Korvax had left behind quantum signatures like fingerprints in space-time. These signatures could be tracked, followed back to their source. Humanity could find them. The preparation continued with desperate intensity. Sleep became optional. Meals were forgotten. Scientists who had spent careers competing for Nobel Prizes now shared their life's work freely. Military commanders who had trained to fight each other now planned to fight together. 7 billion humans united by a single thought: never again. Dr. Sarah Foster at MIT developed something unprecedented. Using the quantum signatures Singh had discovered and Yamamoto's frequency analysis, she created what she called a singularity weapon. It would use the Korvax's own quantum manipulation technology against them, creating a localized black hole inside their shields. The weapon would only work once and only if they could get close enough, but it would be absolutely devastating. As day 7 approached, Earth presented a carefully crafted image to any watching eyes. The cities still burned. People still fled in panic. Governments appeared to collapse. Military forces seemed to stand down. To any observer, humanity looked broken, ready to surrender. But in the shadows, in the bunkers, in the hidden places of the world, 200 million soldiers waited. 10,000 modified weapons sat ready, and every surviving scientist held their breath, hoping their calculations were correct. The trap was set. Humanity would have one chance. Humanity's terrible swift sword. The 7th day dawned gray and silent. In the ruins of Berlin, London, Moscow, and 17 other cities, survivors gathered in the streets. They held white flags, symbols of surrender that made every human sick to their stomach. But it was all part of the plan. Operation Midnight Sun required the Korvax to believe they had won. At exactly 9 a.m. GMT, the ships returned. This time there were 40 of them, twice the original fleet. They materialized in perfect formation above Earth's cities, their crimson glow painting the clouds like blood. The lead ship, larger than the others, positioned itself above New York, where the ruins of the United Nations building stood as a monument to humanity's supposed defeat. President Harrison stood in the ruins of Times Square, surrounded by what appeared to be a defeated government. In reality, every person there was military, trained for this exact moment. Hidden in their clothes were quantum beacon devices that would mark targets for the coming strike. Similar groups stood ready in every affected city. The Korvax commander appeared on every screen, its three eyes gleaming with triumph. Behind it, dozens of other Korvax could be seen at control stations. They weren't hiding anymore. Why would they? They had already won. Humans, the commander said, its voice dripping with satisfaction. The time for decision has passed. What is Earth's answer? Harrison stepped forward, a microphone in his hand. His words would be heard across the planet and throughout the Korvax fleet. We have seen your power, he said, his voice steady despite the rage burning in his chest. 20 million of our people are dead. Our cities lie in ruins. We know we cannot stand against the might of the Korvax Empire. The alien's lipless mouth curved in what might have been pleasure. Around the world, hidden in bunkers and secret facilities, human forces held their breath. The moment was almost here. Then you accept servitude? The Korvax commander asked. We accept, Harrison said, that this ends today. The president dropped to the ground. Across every city, the planted agents did the same. And in that instant, humanity struck. From hidden silos, modified ICBMs launched simultaneously. Each carried Dr. Foster's singularity weapons, their quantum signatures masked to appear as primitive nuclear devices. The Korvax shields activated, ready to dissolve the incoming missiles just as they had before. But these weapons were different. Captain Chen's orbital station, seemingly abandoned, came alive with purpose. Her crew activated the quantum disruption field they'd been preparing for 7 days. For exactly 0.7 seconds, every Korvax shield fluctuated, their quantum coherence disrupted by frequencies they'd never encountered. The missiles didn't need to penetrate the shields. They detonated just outside them, and the singularity weapons activated. Microscopic black holes formed inside the Korvax shield bubbles, existing for only nanoseconds but long enough to create catastrophic gravitational cascades. The shields didn't just fail. They inverted, crushing inward with the force of collapsed stars. The Korvax commander's expression changed from triumph to confusion to terror in the space of a heartbeat. It reached for controls, tried to issue orders, but it was already too late. The ship above New York imploded, its 3-kilometer bulk compressed to the size of a basketball before exploding outward in a shower of quantum particles. Across Earth, the same scene played out 40 times. The Korvax ships, so confident in their superiority, were consumed by their own technology turned against them. The crimson glow of their hulls became the white-hot glare of matter converting to energy. The explosions were visible from orbit, a chain of newborn stars that lasted for seconds and left nothing behind. But humanity wasn't finished. Dr. Yamamoto's quantum tracking system had located the source of the Korvax transmission. They were broadcasting from a massive station at the edge of the solar system, hidden behind sophisticated cloaking technology. This was their forward base, their foothold in human space and the hub transmitting to the watching galaxy. The Large Hadron Collider, now the world's largest quantum weapon, fired a beam of focused gravitational waves through space. The beam traveled at light speed, invisible and unstoppable, carrying the quantum signature of every Korvax ship that had attacked Earth. When it reached the station, it would use their own technology to identify and destroy them. General Volkov coordinated the ground response. Hidden military forces emerged from bunkers, armed with weapons modified using captured Korvax quantum signatures. Any surviving Korvax technology was systematically destroyed. Nothing would be left for study, for reverse engineering, for any future threat. Humanity had learned its lesson. Some advantages were too dangerous to keep. 3 hours after the counterattack began, Earth's long-range sensors detected the destruction of the Korvax station. The gravitational beam had found its target, and another miniature star briefly bloomed in the outer solar system. With it went any hope of Korvax reinforcements or escape. Commander Singh's satellites tracked quantum communications throughout the solar system. The Korvax had been broadcasting everything to their empire and the watching civilizations. Good. Let them see what happened to those who slaughtered humans for sport. Let them understand that Earth was not prey but predator when cornered. The final phase of Operation Midnight Sun activated. Every radio telescope, every communications satellite, every transmitter on Earth aligned to send a single message into space. It would take years to reach other civilizations, but it would reach them. The message was simple, broadcast in mathematical sequences that any spacefaring species could understand. We are humanity. We are Earth. We sought peace and were given war. We offered friendship and received slaughter. 20 million of our own died to teach us a lesson. Now we teach one in return. This system is protected. This species is defended. We will not seek conflict, but conflict sought against us will find only annihilation. The Korvax Empire ends here. Let their fate be your warning. President Harrison stood in the ruins of New York, looking up at the sky where the Korvax command ship had been. Nothing remained but scattered atoms, and the memory of humanity's darkest day turned into its finest hour. The other world leaders appeared on screens around him, their faces grim but satisfied. It's done, General Rodriguez reported. Every Korvax ship destroyed. Every piece of their technology eliminated. Casualty reports from the counterstrike are minimal. We caught them completely by surprise. They never expected it, Dr. Yamamoto added from his laboratory. They were so convinced of their superiority that they never considered we could understand and surpass their technology in 7 days. What about the other civilizations? Someone asked. The ones who were watching? Dr. Foster pulled up her analysis. Based on the quantum communications we intercepted, over 200 civilizations witnessed both the massacre and our response. The message is clear. Earth is not to be threatened. The weeks that followed were dedicated to rebuilding and mourning. 20 million dead could never be brought back, but their sacrifice had united humanity in a way nothing else could have. Countries that had been enemies for generations now shared technology and resources. The old divisions seemed petty in the face of what they'd survived together. Scientists studying the residual quantum signatures made a disturbing discovery. The Korvax had done this before to dozens of worlds. Earth wasn't special to them. It was just the next target in a long line of civilizations they'd destroyed or enslaved for entertainment. The broadcast to the galaxy hadn't just been about power. It had been a form of sick entertainment for an empire that had grown bored with easy conquests. But they had chosen the wrong species this time. Humans who had spent their entire evolution fighting against extinction, who had survived ice ages and plagues and wars among themselves, who had looked at an uncaring universe and decided to care anyway. The Korvax had awakened something primal and terrible in humanity, and paid the ultimate price for their arrogance. 1 year later, Earth launched its first quantum communication beacon. The message it carried was different from the warning. This one offered alliance and protection to any peaceful civilization within range. If the galaxy had predators like the Korvax, then it needed protectors. Humanity would fill that role. The beacon also carried the full recording of humanity's victory. Every second of the Korvax destruction captured in perfect detail. Some called it cruel to spread such violent images across space. Others called it necessary. The debate raged in councils and conferences, but the decision stood. The galaxy had watched humanity's humiliation. Now let it witness humanity's strength. Captain Chen, promoted to admiral, commanded Earth's first quantum defense fleet, ships built using principles learned from the Korvax attack, but improved with human innovation. They patrolled the solar system constantly, ready for any threat. Never again would Earth be caught unprepared. Dr. Yamamoto led a team developing even more advanced weapons, each one carefully controlled and regulated by an international committee. The technology that had saved Earth could just as easily destroy it if misused. Humanity had learned to unite against external threats, but the old dangers of internal conflict remained. In the ruins of the 20 cities, memorials rose, not just to the dead, but to the moment humanity chose to stand together. Each memorial bore the same inscription in every human language. 20 million died here. 7 billion stood as one. Never forget, never again. The galaxy had learned a valuable lesson about humanity. Earth had learned one about itself. And in the vast darkness between stars, other civilizations whispered about the small blue planet that had turned annihilation into victory, that had taken the worst the universe could offer and responded with terrible, swift judgment. The Korvax Empire's name became a cautionary tale told across the galaxy. They had been powerful, ancient, unstoppable. They had conquered worlds for millennia. They had broadcast their cruelty for entertainment. They had attacked Earth. Nothing remained of them but echoes and ash.